Hello. So we are going to continue on with our work in compound interest, and now we're looking at question 6 on page 70. And let's see how we get on. Joseph borrows €32,000 at 11% annual compound interest. He repays €8,000 at the end of each of the first 2 years. How much does Joseph owe at the end of the third year? So, as always, write down our information. We currently are talking about, or in the present, we are talking about €32,000. We're talking about an interest rate per year, so a yearly interest rate of 11%. And as before, we're going to turn that into 11 over 100, put that into our calculator, and we get 0.11 for our interest. Is there anything else? We're told he repays, so repays €8,000 each year. Now, we're going to use our sticks again to keep track. Oh, sorry, and we're dealing with 3 years in total. Now we're going to use our sticks to keep track of this. So we have the present, which is year 0, year 1, or the end of year 1, the end of year 2, the end of year 3. 1, 2, 3, and this is when we are finished. So what is the final value going to be at the end of 3 years? We're looking for the final value at the end of 3 years. Now, we can't just use our formula. So remember, our formula for this section is present value multiplied by 1 plus the interest to the power of time. We can't just sub into this formula. And why can we not? Because we're changing something at the end of each year. So at the end of year 1 and at the end of year 2, we are going to be paying off €8,000 from our debt. So that means that we're going to find the final value at the end of year 1 and subtract €8,000 from it, and that's going to be the starting value for year 2. So we can't just sub into this formula, put t equal to 3 and find our final answer, because we're changing something at the end of year 1 and at the end of year 2. So let's get this written out. We have the present value is 32,000, and our value at the end of year 1, beginning of year 2 is going to be our final value from adding on interest minus €8,000. And at the end of year 2, we're going to have a final value at the end of year 2, and we're going to subtract €8,000 from it. So by drawing out our picture, we now know exactly what steps we have to follow in order to get to our final value at the end of year 3. So let's just get into it. Year 1. Our present value, 32,000. Final value is what we're looking for, and I'm going to say that it's F1 minus 8,000. And our interest rate we have worked out is 11%, which from our calculators we get is 0.11. We're only dealing with the first year, so our time is 1. Now I'm going to write down my formula. So I'm going to do this per year using my formula because it's faster than finding the interest rate, than finding the euro interest and adding it on to my present value. So I can use this because over the space of the first year, nothing changes. So F1 is going to be P plus I to the power of T. So F1 is going to be 32,000 on 1 plus 0.11 power of 1. We put that into our calculators and we get 35520. So that's the amount of money in the account at the end of year 1, but then Joseph comes back and he pays off €8,000 of the debt at this point. So the final value after that for year 1 is going to be F1 minus our 8,000. It is going to be 35520 minus 8,000. So we get 27520. So this is the actual final amount of money owed in the account at the end of year 1 after Joseph has paid off €8,000 of his debt. So this is the amount of money in the account at the end of year 1 and the beginning of year 2. So remember that the money in the account at the end of year 1 will be the starting amount in the account at the beginning of year 2. So then for year 2, we're going to have our new present value is going to be our 27,520. Our final value that we're looking for at the end of year 2 is going to be our F2 minus 8,000. Our interest rate is still 11%, and our time we're only dealing with going from end of first year to end of second year, so our time is just 1 year. And now we are going to sub in. We have F1 is equal to present value multiplied by 1 plus 0.11, our interest rate to the power of 1. F2 I should have written there. And when we put that into our calculators, we get 30547.2, and then our final value in the at the end of the year for year 2 is going to be our 30,547.20 minus 8,000, because Joseph comes back at the end of the year and he pays off €8,000 of that debt. And when he has done paying that off, at the end of year 2, when all is said and done, we have €22,547.20 in the account. So that's what's in the account at the end of year 2, the beginning of year 3, the beginning of our final year. So let's get into year 3. Our principal is what we ended with last year. And our final value is just going to be our final value at the end of year 3, because we're not told that he pays off any more of the debt at the end of year 3. We just want to know the lump sum amount at the end of this year. I is still 11%. They haven't told us that the interest rate has changed, and we're still only dealing with over 1 year. So F is going to equal 22,547.2 on 1 plus 0.11 to the power of 1. We put that into our calculator and we get final value. F is going to be 25027.39. So when rounded to 2 decimal places is actually 392, but we round to 2 decimal places because we're dealing with currency. So this is our final amount owed at the end of year 3. So you can see how questions like this would work out. The only extra bit that they can add into a question like this is if they tell you that they are going to charge tax on the interest, in which case you would just find out what your euro interest was, take away your tax that you're owed, and then add on the interest, the remaining interest, as normal. That's the only extra bit that they can really throw at you. or they can ask you to do effectively a question backwards, like the earlier questions where they give you, say, the money at the end of a term and expected you to work backwards to find, say, the interest rate. But if you follow the steps, write out all of the information you're given, write down all of the formulas that you know, and if you draw your picture, you will be able to argue out any question that they ask you. So if you lay your information out carefully, you will be able to do these questions. But if you skip out on the layout, you will find them very, very difficult, because the language, figuring out exactly what they're looking for, can be very challenging if we skip on the method that I'm showing you here. So make sure you're drawing your pictures, laying out your information carefully per year, writing out your formulas, and if you go step by step, you'll be able to argue out anything that they can throw at you. And that's what we need for now.